Welcome back. This roster is starting to take shape. It is getting closer to cut down day. We're going to talk about what this 53-man roster will look at for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2022. We'll get to some of your questions and break down the preseason so far. This is going to be a lot of fun. Welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're ready. I know this is a little bit weird. It's Sunday night, but we didn't have a ball game. It's what happens when you get to play early, and I think it's actually an advantage for the Kansas City Chiefs in what they've been able to do so far and how they're going to work this breakdown, getting down to the 53-man roster. We're going to talk about it tonight, answer some of your questions, and I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts about where they should be when they get all said and done. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to support the channel, easy to do. Just click the like, click the sub, and become one of us, and hit that bell so you know what comes next. A ton to go over here, and I think we saw some early cuts happen, not completely out of the world, but one thing that did stand out to me is I was a little surprised that Roderick Johnson was amongst the first batch of players let go. I didn't expect that because I thought that they had put enough of an investment into him that they were going to allow him to kind of battle out with Jaron Christian. I think what this means, and the way that I'm taking that, is that they've seen enough out of Kennard that they know they want to keep him around in order to develop him. Now, that doesn't mean he stays on the 53, but he may make the 53 because of it originally. So that was one standout. Now, I know we're only down to 75 players, and there's a lot of things to come here. We have another roughly 44 hours to go or so. There's plenty to go there. Want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. Terry, Norma, Sneaky Jack, Jason, Tommy, Jeremy, glad you guys are here. This roster is going to be a little bit different because as I break it down, and we'll go over more of my 53 tomorrow, but I just want to start by saying I think this has to be a balanced roster this year. I think they have to come out and keep it 25-25, 26-24 offense versus defense when it's all said and done. As I went through and really kind of developed what I want to see, I have trouble seeing them because of the lack of space. I have trouble them going down below 10 linemen on the offensive side of the ball because I think that there's just not enough proficiency to make me feel like it's safe to do so. So I will say this. I think the offensive line is one of the key places that we could see a cut down acquisition because, quite frankly, with Roderick Johnson gone, it does come down to keeping Kennard, who we know has to progress, and keeping Jaron Christian, who's the backup tackle at this point, because they've already made that decision. I don't think that that's set in stone. I think they could bring in somebody else. I don't think it's over. So that's just the first place as we start to wait. Now, I'm not surprised there hasn't been more cuts either. Yes, the Chiefs got a jump start. They've had a jump start on the phones, too. I think there's probably a lot of conversations about, hey, what are you looking for? I have some guys here that I'm going to have to let go. Maybe we can work out a back end kind of swap, much like we saw a few years ago for Parker Inger to Charvarius Ward, and the switch that paid off in a lot of reps played for the Chiefs corner here. And I'm looking forward to something like that. I don't think that it's going to be a blockbuster, but I do think it is going to be something that does help them solidify the backup tackle position in particular. So that is something. Now, amongst that, as I go through, I do think they have to keep 10 DBs as well. I'm pretty solid on that. It's got to be, I think there's only 4 safeties that have earned the right on the roster. I like Zane Anderson, but he hasn't had in limited opportunities, he has not stood out enough to push Deion Bush. He was not only a vested veteran, but a guy that can play teams for you too. And that's really what it comes down to when you're going to be the 4th safety. So I think, unfortunately for Zane, I think he's kind of stuck. And hey, it is what it is. But I do expect him to make the practice squad, and I want to see him on that practice squad because there's an opportunity for him to be called up depending on what happens. So that brings us to who should be the bottom of the corner group. This team loves Rashad Fenton. They want Rashad Fenton. They will have Rashad Fenton as one of the top 3 corners. When healthy, he will be a starter in with Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. No, I don't have any update on Trent McDuffie's condition after the concussion protocol. They have plenty of time. I think they're just going to let him rest, and we'll see what comes of it. Excuse me. So there's plenty to go over there, and really time will be our friend on this one. By playing that preseason game number 3 so early, Chiefs do get a couple of extra days for recovery, and I think that is going to be something that's going to be very important to how their season rolls out, in particular for McDuffie. There are some other injuries. I have them listed out here. I think at the end of the day, you might try to put Blake Bell on the 53-man roster and then move him to IR so that you can then possibly bring him back. I don't think that's going to be the case with Matt Bushman. I know he had a great game in week 3, and I know a lot of you guys are as excited as I was about him initially. So I'd love there to be a chance, but that injury, a clavicle early in the season, it's just very difficult to really come back from, in not only within the frame of a season, but in a way that actually lets you show off your capabilities. So I have to say right now, I'm a little bit less optimistic about the return of Bushman. Now, there's always a rigmarole you can do. You can always release him, bring him back to the practice squad. I don't know that anybody's going to be, slamming down his door when and if he does become a free agent. So there's plenty there. But I do think they end up going with 3 tight ends, and it is Travis and Jody and Noah that I think are going to be your 3. I think likewise they're going to go with 3 running backs, tailbacks that is, in CEH, McKinnon, and Pacheco. I don't think that Rojo's done enough to make this roster. He is one of the people that I do think they are probably trying to move around the country here and see if they can work a trade. Now, I know that you guys have questions. I am seeing them stack up. So if you guys would hit the like button for me, that would certainly help. If you want to support the channel, you can hit the super chat, and I will always make sure that I answer every single super chat. If you would give a hand to Aaron Morrow, our fearless moderator, who is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Aaron. Hope you're doing well. A lot going on. This balance here between the offensive line and the position groups at running back and wide receiver in particular. I think Watson's number 5 now pretty easily. I think Darius Fountain's going to play all the special teams. He's going to be the 6. I think it's pretty cut and dry. I don't see a lot of continued competition for that. I don't think there's any gray area there. So I think we know who those guys are. On the defensive side, it comes down to special teams, and beyond the Fenton group, you have the rookies in Watson and Williams. And kudos to Jalen Watson, who improved dramatically this preseason. People laughed at me during the draft season when I said, hey, he's a draftable kid that can play in this league. He's going to need some time to develop. He's actually developed faster than I thought he would, because I had him on the practice squad when camp started, because I figured that's okay. He'll continue to develop there. He can play snaps for this team in the future. He's going to do that because I do believe he will make this roster. The question for me comes down to DiCaprio Bootle versus Chris Lamont. And I don't think Lamont gives you enough on special teams to outweigh the fact that Bootle could play defensive snaps if you have a run of injuries. And I think in the end, that's what it's about. Now, the side argument for that is that Lamont has more experience. He's a better special teamer. I don't buy enough of that. This is going to be a battle between Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt versus Dave Tobe for what the priority is. Now, Tobe has some significant polls, so I can't say that I know what's going to happen, but I know what I would do, and that would be to keep Bootle in space of Chris Lammons, because I just don't see enough there to make me want to make sure that I take that chance. And I know there's the off the field thing. I don't know that really plays into it very much, but we'll get there. Let's see. I'm going to start answering some of your questions. I think we'll get to the linebackers in the defensive line group, and we'll see what happens there. Norman asked, what happened to the chip on Kennard's shoulders? It grew lighter because he couldn't keep up his feet with the defensive players that he was going against. I think he got humbled a couple of times, and I think that's probably a good thing. That's perfectly fine. I got to see him do more. Now, you guys remember when he got drafted, I said his best spot was going to be moving inside to guard. I still kind of feel that way. But if Orlando Brown can drop weight and become more nimble, so can Darian Kennard. So I'm going to treat this season as a developmental year in a backup role and see what he can do to shape his body and get himself into, honestly, a better NFL shape so that he has a better chance of doing more for this team. It's going to be a challenge, but I think that he can do it. Next, Jeremy had asked, any names that you would keep an eye out for on other teams? Well, you guys know all my favorites. Jarrett Stearns is a backup wide receiver in Miami. I think he's likely not going to make the roster. I'm sorry, in Tampa Bay. I think he's likely not going to make the roster. I would like to see him as at least a practice squad player. I think he has some juice. Kwame Lassiter of KU is the same way. I'd like to see him. Tanner Connor is in Miami. He was the tight end that I was talking about last week. I'm going to keep an eye out for a number of the pass rushers as well. Cam Thomas. I had a higher grade than most on him, and he's been doing okay, but I don't know how bought in they are to him. I think that they like him, but who knows inside the Cardinals organization. We're going to see about that. I do want to see Nefi Sewell, if he makes a roster or if he is a free agent. I'd like to see him come in as well, because I think the youth movement at linebacker could be sustained with a Sewell member on there. I do like that. There's a lot that I'm going to be keeping an eye for, and I'll do a rundown here as cuts come down of who's available, but maybe they should look at. Keep Rojo or not, Ryan? I don't think so, Tommy. I would say let him go because I just don't see enough. I would try to trade him first, of course. And I hope I could sell somebody that, hey, look, he did show you enough in that third preseason game. You guys should want him. I don't want him, but you guys should want him. That's what I would be doing. It is kind of that like pick on new GMs and that kind of thing. Like I would be pushing that. Now, what are they trying to get out of him? I don't know. I mean, honestly, if they got any kind of future draft pick, I think they'd be happy. More likely, I'm guessing it's a player for player. Excuse me. And that's fine. If they can get a guy that could possibly be a backup tackle in a straight up player for player trade for Rojo, I'm there in a heartbeat. Because I do think that is a position that they're going to have to fortify. That's just the way that it goes. Miles, thank you for the questions. Eric Fisher still available for swing tackle. I do believe he remains unsigned. Let me confirm that right now. The question would really be, is he even interested in coming back to Kansas City? I do feel, as I understand it, he felt pretty burned when he got injured and they let him go. And so I'm not sure that he'd be returning with open arms at that point. He is still a free agent at this point. And I thought he did enough that he deserves a roster spot. I'd love to see him come back as the backup tackle. And quite frankly, if he was willing to play on the right side, which at this point in his career he may be, he'd probably replace Wiley, to tell you the truth. So I'd hope that there's an opening there. I just can't confirm it because it could be pretty tricky. How many seasons will Joshua Williams, until Joshua Williams develops enough to have a Travarius Ward type season? Call it 2023. He's 90% there. He's 85% there. He has to finish through place, which was, by the way, Travarius' problem early and until 2021 all the time. So I think physically he's absolutely there with where Travarius was. Lengthwise, he's got a little bit of an advantage there. It's about recognition. It's about reps. And it's about, honestly, he's been thrown into the fire here in the preseason against NFL competition. I do think a year of seasoning, and he should be ready to go. I do think that is what's coming down the pike for him, Zach. Aaron, we have 185 in here. If you guys would, please hit that thumbs up. We always like that. That helps everybody else find us as well. The more you do that, the more Chiefs fans get the information they need so they can see what's going on, from a different point of view, not just from what the hype monsters want to throw at you. I'm grabbing some more questions here, you guys. And we are going to have the full Q&A tomorrow night like I always do. Just without a game, this is kind of a unique night, so wanted to have a little bit of fun. Now, let's see. Lee Mosley, would we consider signing Kenyon Drake or Darrell Williams if Arizona releases him? I think they would. The question is going to be, have they resolved the tackle issue? Are they happy with the defensive line? Do they have all the DBs that they want, or are they going to be looking for that as well? I like the idea of Kenyon Drake in this offense. I like the idea of Darrell Williams. I think they'd both be Darrell would be on the cheaper side, but I think Kenyon's got to not break the bank either. So there's definitely options there, and I think that will come along as we get closer. Lemon's getting in trouble this offseason. Yes. He's part of the incident Alvin Kamara was involved in, which it was pretty graphic, and I do expect he will have a suspension. It just looks like that's going to be delayed until after this season. So I don't think it's going to play a role in his actual availability this year on a week-to-week basis. In the end, I don't know that I'd take a chance on it anyway. If something changes, like I don't want to invest in a guy or let another young guy like Boodle go. Sorry. It must be allergies or something because I am sneezing up a storm tonight, folks. I just don't know that I'd want to take that chance just in case. He is a good special teams player. Don't let what you saw on defense against the 3s and the 4s sway you that he's somehow, better than Josh Williams or something, because he's not. But he does play a significant role for Dave Toub and those special teams units that have to do a lot of work and quite frankly are under lamented and other credited for how well a ball game goes, because it can be a significant sore spot or weakness if your special teams guys can't pull their oar and can't keep up with the level of competition the offense and the defense do. You can lose games just on special teams. So I don't want to act like that's not an important part of it. It certainly is. Doug asked, we're going to have a great defense, but do think we have to give the rookies some time to develop more through the season. You're absolutely right. I do feel like we've seen great stuff from the first rounders. McDuffie and Karlaftis are going to be good. I expect that McDuffie will be good for week 1. He walked off under his own power. He just has to go through the protocol, and I think he'll be fine. Excuse me. Beyond that, I think Sky's going to be in good shape. I'm not concerned about the perceived lack of production. I think he will actually be a pretty intricate cog in this offense later in the season. Same thing with Leo Chanel. I think he's going to play when he has the option, when he has the fits that he needs to play in, mainly base or pass rush situations. I think he's going to do well for this team. I'm really looking forward to that. And Brian Cook, I still believe, is going to be an underrated player, that it's going to be mid-season. He's just going to explode one game, and then the whole league and the rest of Chiefs Kingdom will be like, oh, yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. I do see that coming. But it'll take a little bit all the way around. And then a lot of guys, Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is going to be a contributor earlier than anyone thought he would. But a lot of the day 3 guys are going to take a little bit of time to come along, and that's perfectly fine as well. Gordon should get cut for Watson, in my opinion. Absolutely, Kevin. I don't think in fact, there was a tweet from Josh Gordon the other night thanking everybody for the opportunity. He used that word and the chance. And I think that's pretty telling that he's been told he won't be on the roster. He shouldn't be. He has not earned a spot, to tell you the truth. So I will wait to find out. But I agree. Watson has outplayed him this preseason. Hope Rose makes the practice squad. I do too. I said it on Locked On Chiefs. You guys can go see that. We actually were live a couple hours ago, so that's been up there for a bit. Go watch that as well. But I still feel like something happened because I don't see the instinctual player in this preseason that I saw in college. I don't know if the jump was just too much, if there's just too much thinking he has to do, or if it's just a speed difference at the NFL level. But I do think he will be a viable NFL player. He probably needs a practice squad season to do it. So I agree with you, Doug. I would like to see him make the Chiefs practice squad. Who's your favorite linebacker that's on the bubble? My favorite linebacker that is probably Rose, but he's not really on the bubble. He's already released, so I think that's fine. I don't think Jermaine Carter's on the bubble. I think he's going to be released as well. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites. I thought it was kind of a very Hitchin-esque type signing at the time. I don't think he has the athleticism to contribute on a defense that must be faster in order to be competitive. So I didn't like the fit originally. Congrats to Elijah Lee. I think he's squarely on this roster and resurgent in his career. I didn't expect him to look this good. So when you talk about Gay and Bolton and Lee and Chanel, there's your top 4. And then does Carter play special teams? I don't know. It's going to be iffy. We're going to have to see who wins it. I think right now it's Darius Harris is what I think it is. And kudos to Harris too, because Harris has played better this preseason than I think he has in years past too. So he felt the pressure from the young guys coming in, and he responded to it. And that is a positive thing that I think not only we, but the team is going to have to give credit to. And I think Darius Harris makes this roster. I think he's earned that. So I'm pretty excited about that. But my favorite would be Mike Rose. He just didn't live up to my expectations. And I think something just sidetracked him. I still think he can get there. Ready Whip, thank you. I know there would be some growing pains, but I really believe the defense is going to be much better than last year. I hope so. If you play as a team, you take the pressure off of individual players like Frank Clark to be a force. Now that you have George and Frank and Carlos, as well as Chris Jones, you have 4 legit pass rushers. That changes everything. That protects the secondary. That allows you to be more deceptive in what you're doing. Spags wants to play games. He wants to show you, hey, look, and go somewhere else, and I hope that creates not only opportunities, but angles for turnovers. That's what's going to come into play. I think the safeties are going to be in line for a big year this season. So let's hope that it continues that way. And if they do, if you play as a unit, the defense can be much, much better. Do you think the Chanel is going to have a season like Noah Gray did last year where he needs a year to catch up to the NFL speed? I don't think so, Derek. I just think that he's not going to be ready this season to turn and run with running backs in coverage in man. He can drop to his zone just fine. And then much like Nick Bolton did last year, when he drops to his zone, when he plants his foot and plays forward from that point, he's great. And I think that's the difference is that Nick has gotten better at playing backwards since, say, mid-season last year. That will click for Chanel at some point as well. I think it's going to take a little bit longer because it was something that Nick already did in college. Chanel was not asked to do it at Wisconsin, so it's much more foreign to him. But I do think he will show up in some pass rush downs, certainly in a blitz package when they get the teams that want to run down their throats. If they get the Titans with Henry, or if the Bills if their pass game starts to flounder and they want to run the ball more, he could play big roles in the run-oriented type games. So I do see a lot of positive from him. How else? How do you feel about Wiley looked this preseason? I saw some holding penalties. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. He's got decent feet, but they're not the quickest. Like he's doing what he does, and I think that's going to be serviceable. Do I want Lucas Niang to come back super healthy as fast as he possibly can? Yes, but in the meantime, I do think it's going to be all right. Howdy, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. We're going to answer a few more questions, you guys, and this is just a short show. This is the half-hour show tonight, and then we'll call it a day because hey, in the next couple of weeks we're going to have real ball games to talk about on Sunday night. And I'm looking forward to all that. Got ready whips, low lip, player with the most potential to have their first Pro Bowl season in 2022. Have their first Pro Bowl season in 2022. I mean, Creed should be all pro. He should definitely be Pro Bowl. I think it's probably Bolton. It's got to be. I mean, if he plays, the defense is going to funnel to him even more so than it did last year. And he's gotten better at trying to get to the sidelines. So I do think he will make more plays. I think statistically he'll look better. And if he does that, then the networks play him up and then the Pro Bowl voting goes better. That's the problem with the Pro Bowl is if you don't get the exposure, you don't get the votes. And so it is a little bit of a media game. So I do think that he has that potential. The other one that I think will be L'Jarius Sneed. I think he will also show out. Can McCole Hartman? He has the possibility, yes. I'm not sure that I'm there on him yet. We're going to have to see how this all boils down to, yes, they're going to spread the ball out, but who's going to make the most of their targets? Anthony, who's the one underdog you want to see make the roster? I mean, an underdog. I think most of my guys are going to make it in that Mike Burton's not going anywhere. Darius Fountain's going to be the 6th wide receiver. I think the underdog that I want to see the most is probably Boodle. I would love to say that Zane could outfight Deion Bush, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, right now it would probably be Boodle. D-Rob was looking like Randy Moss last night. Well, I mean, he ran maybe the slowest crossover cut that I've ever seen, and he got 2 DBs to bite on it. So, hey, congratulations. But, there's going to be a lot of folks who be like, bring D-Rob back. No, you're okay. Kevin, can Pacheco learn to wait for his holes and book inside instead of get the ball and just run as fast as he can wildly? Yes, he can. Will he? Will he as a rookie? I can't tell you. Can he? Yes, he certainly is capable of that. And you nailed what he needs to do as well. Terry, would you pick up Slayton if he gets released and have him over Fountain? I could see that. I think there's a little bit more viability there. It'd be tough. And I wonder what Dave Tobe would think, to tell you the truth, because like that's going to be a position that got to be the special teams, and it would take Tobe's okay. Jaden, hope you're doing good. I really think they need to keep Shane Bichelle. What are your thoughts? Like, keep him how? I think they will keep him. He'll just be on the practice squad. He's not better than Chad Henne, so you can't, like, I don't think you can afford to keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53, but you can put him on the practice squad and be a guy that you pull up whenever you need him. But I don't think he's better than Henne. I'm not sure why everybody thinks that playing against the 3s and 4s the way that he has this preseason, he's miraculously surpassed him. He has not. But I do agree with you. Like, they need to have a third quarterback. Crum didn't work out. I think the first preseason game, I thought Crum played better than Bichelle. Bichelle played better here later in the preseason, but I think you can easily get him on the practice squad, and then you have the ability to call him up whenever you need. I believe they not outlawed, but they took away the 2 call-up rule, so they can call up multiple times if you need him. So I do think that's important. Josh, Casey talked to Chicago about Reif or Baram instead of Jenkins, or maybe talk the old Belichick after Wynn. Wynn wants out. Riley Reif, I don't know. Riley's looking a little ragged to me in terms of his footwork and his lack of spryness, to tell you the truth. I would more likely go for Jenkins or Wynn, to tell you the truth. Those would be my choices there. I don't know if you're going to be able to pry anybody away from anybody, to tell you the truth. David, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Jalen Watson, he has looked pretty good. He has. And like, I knew he had it in him. I just didn't expect him to get to this far this fast. So I'm happy for him too. When you play at Wazoo, you don't get many opportunities to shine. You have to go and watch that. And I did. And I think me and Rob Rang were the 2 guys that I know had draftable grades on him, and that was it. So I'm glad to see that he's actually come in and progressed even more so than I thought he would. I thought he'd be a practice squad player that had room to get there, but hey, it is what it is. I will take it, and I think that shows a dedication and ability to learn. So I think it's going to be good. Let's see here. Who's next? Colate. Who's the second best interior pass rusher after Chris Jones? Pass rusher specific is Turk Wharton right now. Although Colin Saunders has made up a lot of ground. Turk was up here and Colin was down here last year. They're very much like this right now, in my opinion. And this is Colin getting to about where I thought he would get, because he has been quick. He is super good with his hands. He just hasn't put it all together. He needs to stay healthy in order to maintain that. I hope that he can do it. I would put Colin at 3. Obviously, Noddy and Shelton are not pass rushers. Noddy will give you something every now and then. Dan Shelton's not going to. He's just going to bowl people over. And that can crush a pocket too. I'm okay with that. Cole, if the Chiefs keep 6 wide receivers, does Fountain make it as the 6th? Yes. I think that's pretty squarely on there. I don't think he and Watson as the 6 and the 5 have any competition to be worried about. I could see bringing Powell back on the practice squad. I don't think anybody's pushing for the roster except Watson and Fountain. Alex, can we find a swing tackle in a trade? It's a possibility, yes. Especially if it is one of the guys on the younger side like Wynn or Jenkins that has played in a system, and maybe you think you can get a bump out of him and bring him in this system. So I do think it's in the cards and on the table. Should we see a majority of cuts tomorrow or Tuesday? If I know the Chiefs, they're going to play some of it close to the vest and really wait. So I'm expecting a lot of it to happen on Tuesday, so they can push for trades and try to see what they can get done. There'll be some guys that I think are kind of like, they don't have any value outside of the building either, so they'll let them go. But I do think there'll probably be more on Tuesday than will be on tomorrow. Thanks, Dan. Hustle. Who do you think is wide receiver 1? I have MVS in that spot because of his height. I mean, it depends what you mean. I have maintained this all along. I think MVS could lead them in yardage. I think if anybody's going to break a 75-yarder or something this year, it's going to be McCole or MVS. But in terms of like touchdowns, I think that's most likely Juju still. I haven't seen anything to dissuade me from that. So the nice thing about this is it's a true wide receiver core, and it's going to be about who has the best matchup. I think at the end of the day, I think we probably lean towards Juju when it's all said and done after 17 games, but I think it's very much going to be up for debate every single week. Washington's RB1 was a shooting victim, perfect trade partner for Rojo or Clyde. Who? Gibson? I didn't know that. Gibson's been looking a little bit iffy this preseason, I got to tell you. Brian Robinson might come in there and steal a lot of carries from him just for you fantasy players. I'm just going to tell you. Ben, who would you like at right tackle if Wiley goes down? I mean, right now, I'd like Lucas Niang to be healthy. Outside of that, I have trouble putting Jaron Christian in the ballgame, you guys. I got to tell you. I'm very much concerned about that. I think he's marginally better than Prince Tega Wanago, though. So I think that's what it's going to be. I will give Prince this. He could play both sides better. I think he switches back and forth as more of an athlete, but he's more injury prone. So in the end, I don't see Prince making this roster. If they do, it's because he can play both sides and they see him as more of an actual swing. I hope that happens. I mean, I don't know. Folks, we're going to wrap it up here with the last few questions and the last super chat. And then we'll have a whole nother round tomorrow night, as we always do on Monday nights at 6. If you're not one of us here on the channel yet, become part of the community. Hit the sub button. Hit the thumbs up for this video because we have a lot. It's not just this Q&A format, which I do post-game and I do on Monday nights. But we have stats rundown. We have film breakdowns that Dan and I do. We have Seth's analysis after all of his film work. We have all kinds of stuff. You're going to see Big Chief Sean. You're going to see Rogue Head Huddle if you're in the memberships this year. So make sure you get signed up for the memberships at the rookie level or above. You can get Dan's rants that way. Gooch's like nightlife video series. You're going to get stuff from Aaron. Like all of our contributors are going to put stuff in the member section as well. So I think you guys will dig that. If he goes down, I could actually see them trying to mess with the line more than they like and move a guard over. I don't really want to see Trey Smith at tackle, but they might have to try that at some point if Wiley goes down. And they don't correct it in the meantime and get an actual true swing tackle. Who should be the Kansas City Chiefs next inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame in the NFL? Man, it's a good one. Priest went in, if I remember correctly, right? I don't really keep track of the Ring of Honor and the Hall of Fame stuff. I mean, Trent's in it. I don't know, man. You might have to go old school and go backward. I'd love to see James Hasty in there. I just got to tell you, Hasty's my guy. Ooh, I like watching him play. And by the way, I do want to make a quick announcement. I'll probably do this again tomorrow night, but I want to let you guys all know Chief Concerns is going to be doing a guest spot on RGR this season. So you can see Jason Dunn and Mark Stash, and they'll have some perspective as well. So we'll make that full announcement next week, but look forward to that. Who makes all pro this year? I do believe that it will be Creed. I do believe that it will be Patrick, obviously. And I have the tendency to feel like Chris Jones will definitely make it. I'm not sure Frank Clark has that in him anymore. But I do feel like Justin Reed has the potential to do that. He seems to understand this system and be more like adapted to this system than he was to the system in Houston. I think he has that kind of play in him. I'd love for Juan Thornhill to pull through and actually have an all-pro season like he's predicted for himself. I'm going to say his partner makes it, though. But, hey, if they're both pushing, I'd love to see it. Low lip. After all the hype this summer, do you think that Clyde maybe didn't impress as much as we thought he would? I don't know. I think he looked good at times. He looked very much like himself at times, too. So in the room, I think they understand like what plays broke down and whether it was him or whether it was the line or whether it was vision or what it was. So I do think he's going to have a little bit more room to maneuver and a little bit more understanding from the staff than from us because we don't know what the calls were. But I think they also understand that unless he does something dramatic and breaks out this season, that they probably made a mistake drafting a running back that high. And they probably will move on from Clyde. Aaron, do we know anything about Dunlap? Nothing new yet. It was an Achilles that had been aggravated. I don't know how. I don't know how badly. Hopefully we get an update from Andy here. I believe they're back at practice on Wednesday. They might have meetings on Tuesday, so maybe we'll get an appearance. Oscar, what's up, buddy? Just a regular here, enjoying your content. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Go Chiefs. Can't wait for the season. I very much appreciate you. Thank you for being here, Oscar. You guys are great, and the support is definitely felt and appreciated. Biggest roster need for 2023 will be another edge rusher because Frank Clark will be gone. And Mike Dana will probably be here, but I don't know if Malik Herring is going to give you enough. George Karlaftis will not be enough by himself. You need another pass rusher. They've looked at the secondary this year. There's going to be 3 rookies at the cornerback spot this year. That's my personal opinion. I think that's a lot. So I think they go and they heavily invest at the pass rush position next. Edge would be the premier of them. Is it possible to trade Rojo, or maybe we get, or has he made the roster in your mind? I think he's a trade candidate, or he will be released. I don't think he's done enough to make the roster. But thank you, Cole. Des, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you very much. Before I answer Dez's, I'm going to make sure that I get the rest of them tied up in case I missed any other super chats. You guys, if you're going to support us with a super chat, I'm definitely going to answer you. Scott has another question too, but let's get Dez's. With the adjusting Juju contract, do you think that means that they plan to extend him? I think they plan to. What that does, in my mind, is encourage him to push him a little bit and show him that, hey, if you respond and you give us what you want, we will extend you. Like, you can earn your next contract here. I think that's kind of like an olive branch or a little carrot. Like, yeah, if you play better than our expectations, we're going to pay you a little bit more now. You do that again, we're going to extend you and you'll be a part of this team going forward. That's how I feel about it, Des. Let me know what you think, though, in the chat there. And thank you for the support. I very much appreciate it. Always great. Thank you, Doug. I thank you very much for always being a supporter here. Very much appreciate your time as well. Do you guys think the Dolphins offense is going to be as good as people are saying it is? No. In the end of the day, I don't trust Tua to be a top 10 quarterback. And unless you have one, you can be good, but I don't think you can be what a lot of the talking heads seem to think they're going to be. Now, that said, Tyreek is still going to be Tyreek, and if you can get him the ball, he's going to be able to make plays. I know he's a pain in the butt right now. Remember, when you start to get pissed off about it, that's what he wants. He's trying to make a sensation. He's 29 years old. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do after it. And it's going to be media. So don't let him get your gander up, because I think that's what he's trying to do. I personally will not give him the satisfaction. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's it for today. When and if we have something like earth-shattering happening, if there's a trade, I'll jump on live and give you a rundown. We're going to have a couple of play breakdowns this week, as well as the normal content. We're going to have Gary on. Sean will be later in the week as we move forward. And then Chief in the North, as always, on Thursday. So be prepared for that. Our newest sponsors up tomorrow night. Please check them out. And we will be back with the Q&A. I'll do that read again tomorrow. Hopefully get a little bit better at it. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Hit the thumbs up if you would. If you enjoyed anything about this and you like the information, make sure you get subbed so you get more information. And hit that bell so you know when we do something else. Now, Bradley, Will came in at the very end with another super chat, so I got to take care of Bill. And reposting our super chat from the support channel. Oh, to support the channel. Thank you. Of all the rookies hit their 1-year upside, how good can this defense be? Thank you, Bill. I must have missed that one. I'm sorry. If all the rookies hit their 1-year upside, how good would the defense be? I mean, if Karlaftis is as good as he can be and McDuffie locks everything down as well as he can be, and Cook makes those plays, and Sky is able to take on 50 targets and turn that into 5-6 touchdowns. I mean, oh, you were only talking about the defense. Sorry. And Jalen and Josh play, when they play reps, they play well. This can be a top 18, top 16, top 15. They could get to 15. It has to all come together. And quite frankly, it has to be supported by the rest of the defensive roster as well. It can't be just the rookies. If it's a bunch of veterans sitting around waiting for the rookies to make plays, they're in trouble. But if they all hit their potential and the veterans hold their own, they're going to be okay. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic. But thank you for the support, Bill. I appreciate it. A lot going on there. You guys make sure that you go get subbed to Back Talk Bros, and they're going to be on tonight as well. I'm pretty sure, Stevie, correct me if I'm wrong. And make sure you sub over to Big Chief Sean's channel. All the guys that contribute around here have their own thing going. Make sure you support them as well, because we are one big group that we try to get everything going in one direction. Thank you for being here. For all you regulars, Cole and everyone, and Holly was in here tonight. Everyone, we'll be back tomorrow with the Monday Night Q&A, as always, at 6. Have a great Monday, and I'll talk to you then.